Hello. This is the Argument of Fact Essay Assignment Sheet. I want to talk about what's on this sheet because, well, clearly I understand that you can read English. There's a lot of stuff on here that may be unfamiliar to you, and my expectations may not be clear. So I want to make sure that you have the best opportunity to do well on this assignment by getting off to a good start. So I'm going to walk us through the Argument of Fact Essay Assignment Prompt. Here we go. The Argument of Fact essay is to be a minimum of 1,000 words long. Okay, 1,000 words. That's not actually that many, especially when creating a substantial argument. Don't be afraid to go way past that if you need. So there's no upper end, if you will. There is no upper limit. But there is a minimum, 1,000 words. If you're short, don't expect to pass. In which you present and support an argument of fact as defined in Everything's an Argument, Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is titled, oddly enough, Arguments of Fact. So please read that chapter. I also recommend reading Chapter 4 as well. I assume you've already read Chapter 1. Your essay must cite a minimum of 6 sources, 3 of which originate in print or have print analogs. Okay, so 6 sources, that's pretty easy. But here's the catch. 3 of which originate in print or have print analogs. What does that mean? Well, it means that they are from magazines, newspapers, scholarly journals, books, government reports, or some other form of print media. This does not, however, mean you have to actually use the print copies. Many of these are available on the internet, and especially, luckily for you Mesa College students, through our Mesa College library, both our ebook databases as well as our periodical databases. So any material taken from those databases will help you to reach this minimum standard. Again, you can go way past the minimum. You have much more. Right? You have more than 6 sources, far more than 3 sources that originate in print or have print analogs. These sources must be presented in correct MLA fashion with parenthetical and text documentation and a works cited page. Please remember that correct MLA fashion means it's in the 8th edition. And yes, I hold you responsible for all the work that you do. So if you, for example, use a citation guide or helper that gives you something that is actually wrong, guess what? It counts against you. I don't care. In dictionaries, encyclopedias, and other general reference works do not count as sources. That doesn't mean that they can't be used. They just don't help you reach that 6. At least 2 sources must be from scholarly journals or university press books. What are these? If you're not familiar with these are peer-reviewed materials. Peer review means that before something is published, it is looked at by a group of experts in that same field who judge the material as suitable for publication, or more often do not, and thus you never see them. Now, how do you find these? Well, Mesa College has databases called EBSCOhost and JSTOR that both have scholarly journals. JSTOR, in fact, is entirely scholarly journals and therefore is very helpful for many students. EBSCOhost contains both regular works, that is editorial review, as well as scholarly journals. And you can access them both, or you can limit by pressing a peer review button to limit your search to just peer-reviewed materials. And thus you can get your minimum requirement. Your essay must contain at least 1 table or figure properly noted and incorporated into the text, which is found on the MLA website. Unfortunately, it's not in the MLA handbook itself anymore, but if you go to this URL, you will find what we're looking for, and you will see how it's done. Also, there is a sample paper, the sample argument of fact paper, with an incorporated table or figure. Remember, it says properly noted and incorporated. This means that the table or figure must be referenced. as shown in Figure 1, as shown in Table 1, language such as that, according to Table 1. You can play with the language. You do not reference tables or figures by saying anything about the physical layout of your paper, such as above, below, on the next page, that sort of thing. Reference it by the number, Table 1, Table 2, Table 3. Make sure you also provide a word count of your essay at the end of the text. This is something very simple to do. Most of your computer word processing programs will easily give you the word count, and I just want you to put it down at the end of your essay. Just write 1,048 words or something to that effect. Please remember not to include the name block, the works cited page entries, or the table or figure in the word count, as they have a way of really artificially inflating that word count. The topic will be a topic of your own choosing. But just as a reminder, there are a few topics that are off limits: abortion, death penalty, child abuse, and religion. I could go on and on about why I don't want papers on these topics, but let's just say don't. Simple as that. Certainly there are many other topics to choose from. Now remember, good writing begins with good ideas, but good ideas are not easy to find. They're usually not the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay. Now, when you read Chapter 8, and it talks about a lot of different arguments of fact, and that will help you to get started. Also have a paper a handout, that gives you some ideas, but it's not, again, a limiting handout. It's not saying you can only write on these ideas. That would be pretty awful. But just to get an idea of what an argument of fact consists of. But please remember, good writing begins with good ideas. You have a C idea, you get a C paper. You want to get an A idea to get an A paper. You are to submit a proposal to me on Canvas by Friday, June 19th by 11:59 p.m. The proposal should be written as described in Chapter 8, and particularly on page 182, where it says preparing a proposal. It shows exactly how it should be laid out. Now, we have not talked about the Tolman model. We will later this semester, but we haven't yet. So you can skip that part and instead just simply write your thesis or hypothesis as a single sentence thesis. Then answer the bullet point questions. There are 4 bullet points here on page 182. After you do that, I also want you to include an annotated bibliography with 2 sources. This means you give the MLA entry for the source and a paragraph of description and evaluation for each of those sources. What is it? Why is it good? Do that twice. There is a sample proposal for the argument of fact that you can also consult on Canvas. Now, after I look over the proposals, I will be creating work groups in which you are to submit a rough draft by Wednesday, June the 24th by 11:59 for peer editing within the group. Now, I will describe for you in the future just how to access these peer groups, but these are very important. You're going to post your rough draft to your peer group. The other members of your group will post their rough drafts. You will also give it to me through Canvas. So you actually submit everything twice, to your peer group and to me. This needs to be done by Wednesday, June the 24th. This draft should be as full and complete as possible, meeting all minimum standards for the assignment. The more work you put into the draft, the better your final draft will be, right? So you have actually less that you have to do before you turn in the final. Thus, the peer review, the peer edits that are being done by your group members will, quite frankly, be more helpful and more useful the more complete your paper is. Based on previous experience, I can tell you that the difference in the grades of essays that have been peer edited and those that have not is striking. I'm sure you can figure that out. Be sure to consult the out-of-class paper guidelines, which is a handout I have on Canvas, and the MLA handbook, which is your other textbook for the course, so that you avoid errors in presentation and style. Peer editing is to be done by Thursday, June the 25th, before midnight. I apologize that it's such a quick turnaround, but this is made necessary because this is the first paper of the semester, and we don't have quite as much time for it as we will for the later ones. You will need to revise and polish your essay and turn it in by midnight Friday, June the 26th. No late essays will be accepted without a verifiable medical or legal excuse. Okay, and Canvas does not lie. It knows when you turn material in. Okay, if you push it and you push it and you push it and you don't make it, too bad. Now, minimum requirements. Needs to be at least 1,000 words, as we already said. This is basically just writing that you have done, not everything else. You need at least 6 sources that are all cited in the essay, although you can have many more than that if you so choose. At least 3 sources must originate in print or have print analogs. Again, you may have many more if you choose. There are at least 2 sources are from scholarly journals or university press books. It doesn't say that because I ran out of space over here. Sorry, but basically peer-reviewed materials. Your essay has a table or figure. Please make sure that you check the MLA website and the sample that I've posted so you do that correctly. And of course, standard MLA documentation now in the 8th edition for both in-text and works cited page. And that is your handout.